All right, guys. All right, guys. How you guys doing? How you guys doing? Welcome to another episode of Black People Kind of News, episode 8. We're gonna have a full show for you tonight, guys. Make sure you guys are sharing the stream. Make sure you guys are pressing the like button. Make sure you guys are letting other people know that I run these streams for you guys. It's gonna be a long show tonight. I'm going to put out several stories that I think you guys should be aware of. The Black community should be aware of. Now, granted. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, the show is going to be filled tonight. So make sure you guys pay attention. Make sure you guys are pressing the like button and make sure you guys are tapping the stream. Make sure you guys are sharing the stream. And without further ado, let's get into the news. Parallel reparations efforts gain momentum in California and Capitol Hill. Quote, unquote, there is momentum, said Representative Cori Bush of Missouri. It's time. So basically what we're discussing here is Representative Cori Bush is proposing a reparations bill. A bill that's supposed to be hitting on the federal level. Now, this is going side by side with what's happening in California. California Reparations Task Force has already made a recommendation of several things, several points, including an official apology from the state of California, but also cash reparations, along with other tangible benefits. And now it's going to go to the California legislature to be voted on. However, the one thing that we're seeing right now is that there is a unified push across the African diaspora and not just here in the U.S. Now, we're seeing several U.S. states from Maryland to Massachusetts to North Carolina to Texas. There's discussions in Texas, discussions in Oregon, discussions in Washington State. It's all over the country right now. Now, the question becomes how is reparations are going to be paid out and how it's going to be handled. But the fact of the matter is, Black people, the one thing that you should see from this news is that it's being discussed. These discussions will not be silenced by a bunch of naysayers. Now, for our next story, we're going to get into. This story is interesting. This cop got out of 44 tickets. So for this story, this cop got out of 44 tickets by saying over and over that his girlfriend stole his car. And that was not true. That was not true. Let's get into this story here. Jeffrey Kriv, this cop, had gotten out of tickets over the years, and he has a troubled history when it comes to police accountability. And he says that he broke up with his girlfriend. And every time that he would show up to traffic court, he would say that his girlfriend stole his car. Every time that he would show up for traffic court for, speeding tickets, any kind of traffic violations, he would say that his girlfriend had his car. And he's a Chicago police officer. And the thing about that is that that's actually not true. This guy is lying. And it shows a pattern when it comes to Chicago police officers just lying to the public, just being liars. And the thing about that is that they will hold the citizen to the highest standard possible. But guys like Jeffrey Kriv here can lie and lie and lie with impunity and never face any consequences for their actions. I really want to get deeper into this story here, man. I really do. So each time he stood before a Chicago traffic court judge and told his story, the judge asked his name. Jeffrey Kriv, he'd say, that was true. Then he'd raise his right hand and get sworn in. What came next was also consistent. That morning I broke up with my girlfriend and she stole my car. Kriv, who had been ticketed for running a red light, testified in January of 2021. Yeah, I broke up with my girlfriend earlier that morning, had a knockdown, drag-out fight. Verbally, of course, she took my car without my knowledge. He actually told a different judge when fighting a speeding ticket in August of 2021. I broke up with my girlfriend that day and she took my car without my knowledge. I didn't get my car back for like 3 days, but it was her driving the car, he said while contesting a speeding ticket once again under oath in May of 2022. The excuse worked just as it had many times before. At the ticket hearings, Kriv often provided what he said were legitimate police incident reports as evidence of the car thefts. They had officer names and badge numbers, and he explained that he got the reports as at the police headquarters. But Kriv did not let on that he himself was a cop. So he was getting preferential treatment from Chicago police officers as a cop and he got out of speeding tickets over and over and over again for years and years and years and faces no accountability because, once again, he's a police officer. And accountability is not for police officers, apparently. Apparently. Let's get into this next story, man. Let's get into this next story. I want to actually do an archive IS on this one. I do not want to. Let's archive it. Okay, cool. All right. For a notorious police department, this unaliving was the last straw. After a string of police shootings and abuse in Paterson, New Jersey, the killing of Najee Seabrooks led to the state attorney general to seize control of the department. So the Paterson Police Department is now under the control of the New Jersey Attorney General. Seriously, they are that bad. They are that bad. They are that bad. The police, I'm going to say this for you one time. The police in Paterson, New Jersey are so bad that the New Jersey Attorney General has seized control of the entire police department. So this department unalived Najee Seabrooks. And what we're seeing is a spike in police shootings of black men in particular. And so as a result of that, the New Jersey Attorney General has taken control of Paterson Police. Do you understand how bad you gotta be to have an attorney general take control of your department? Police officers in Paterson have robbed, beaten, shot, and unalived scores of black men, earning that department a reputation as one of the most troubled in New Jersey. Between 2018 and 2020, the city's black residents, who make up about a quarter of the population, were the subject of 57% of the department's 600 plus use of forces, according to an investigation last year by the Police Executive Research Forum, a national association of police leaders. Wow. So you have police officers dealing products, selling drugs from their cruiser. Other officers created a robbery squad that robbed and beat people, right? You have officers who have shot people. It is insane what's going on in Paterson, New Jersey. This is some gang violence stuff. I mean, where are the RICO charges? Where is the anti-black hate crime bill? At this point, when the New Jersey Attorney General has to take control of your department, where you have officers who are behaving worse than gangsters, it's time for the federal government to step in. Not only that, it's time for people to be hit up with RICO charges because you are behaving like an organized gang at that point. At the point that you are robbing people in broad daylight, you are framing people for false things. Because I actually recall news stories that I've covered in the past about Paterson police officers framing people for crimes they never committed. Then you got people out here selling stuff to citizens from their police cruisers. Drugs from their cruisers. This is the face of law enforcement. Stories like this, notice, it takes people like me, New York Times, everything else, but you will never see this on headline news. You will never see this on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Newsmax, you name it. You won't see it there. You won't see it discussed. You want to know why? Because it would paint the truth about U.S. law enforcement. You would never see it on those networks. You saw it here, folks. It takes, a content creator, a freaking law enforcement whistleblower to come and tell you the truth. A whole police department has been taken over by a state attorney general. Do you understand how insane that is? Do you understand the picture this paints of police in New Jersey and beyond? Because when something like this can happen on American soil, and we are criticizing, whole regimes, for engaging in similar behavior. We are criticizing other countries. Oh, you invaded this country. You invaded that country. Excuse me. We got race soldiers, state-sponsored soldiers right here who are behaving like organized gangs. Organized gangs, y'all. Listen, when a state attorney general has to take over your department. That is not only a failure of law enforcement, that is not only a failure of politicians to actually pass meaningful legislation to actually hold police accountable. That's not only a failure of the courts, that is a failure of American society itself. You have things happening here that you would expect from freaking tin horn dictatorships. What is the difference between this and what's happening in Brazil or Mexico or North Korea, China, Russia, anywhere else? How can we ever point the finger at another country when a state attorney general has to take over a police department? Think about it. Think about it. And now Najee Seabrooks is no longer with us because we failed to hold police accountable. That is insane. Next story. So, investigators look into police misconduct, say they're not allowed into Fulton County Jail. This is happening in Georgia right now. So, the Fulton County Jail sheriff is responding to allegations that he barred investigators looking into inmates' complaints about police misconduct from entering the jail. You know it's bad. You know Fulton County. And the crazy part about this is that Fulton County has had several police misconduct stories. Several. And when you have stories like Fulton County Sheriff Pat Labatt says that this all began when an Atlanta Citizen Review Board investigator showed up without proper notice. Labatt says that the investigator was barred not to prevent that person from investigating police misconduct. So the sheriff is claiming here that they weren't barred from entering the facility. He's saying that proper procedure was not followed. Procedure. Sir, there's claims of police misconduct. Your officers are in the national media right now for doing all kinds of horrible, heinous stuff. There's been people who have come up missing, people who have been unalived in that facility, and you are telling people to follow procedure? Well, maybe if your officers follow procedure, there wouldn't be complaints and people who are no longer with us because of your pigs. My God. My God. Who in their right mind would say, hey, I understand that you are here to investigate claims of misconduct, but because you don't follow my ultra specific rules, you can't come to the actual facility to see the actual misconduct that is being alleged. Don't worry, there's nothing going wrong here. There's nothing wrong here. If y'all believe that, I got some unicorn horns and some goblin's teeth to come and sell you. If you believe that. Let me get a swig real quick. I want y'all to see something real quick. A former police officer out of New Mexico has admitted to a horrible crime. Let's get into the story, man. A former New Mexico police officer, whose name is Daniel Balding, has been convicted of multiple felonies. This guy was trying to meet up with somebody who he thought was 15 years old, but it was actually a member of the Department of Homeland Security and State Police. And a jury has found Balding guilty of trying to meet up with that 15-year-old for inappropriate activities. And he has not been given a sentence yet, but he faces only 3 years in prison. Up to 3 years. That's it. Up to 3 years. That's it for what he did. Stories like this show you that you should not trust police officers around your children. Period. Because stories like this, I report on them a little bit too often for my comfort. And I think you will agree when you look at my channel and you see all the content. Wow. So this guy will only get up to 3 years. He found himself in an undercover sting back in 2019. So 4 years later, and he's only faced up to 3 years, and he'll be back he'll be back out on the streets around your kids. I'm gonna tell y'all something. I do stories like this with police officers pretty often. In fact, I would say in terms of the most common police crimes that I see committed, things like DUI, things like, hitting their wives, stuff like official misconduct, stuff like stealing things from the evidence room. But I'm gonna tell you, one of the most common crimes ever is 100% crimes like these with police officers. And people don't seem to understand, why wouldn't a predator be drawn to law enforcement when they have so much deference and so much power in the courts? As you can see, this man is only going to face up to 3 years in prison, which lets you know there's a reason why guys like this does what it just makes sense. Why wouldn't you do this if you're not going to face any kind of consequences? And you're already a predator. I mean, the worst that's going to happen is that you're going to spend a little bit of time behind bars. You could potentially have the record expunged, and depending on where you go, depending on the freaking state, you don't stay on that list forever. So you could theoretically, in some cases, get charged with a crime like this, do very little time as a police officer, and then get back as a police officer once your time is done. You'd be surprised at how many state laws don't exactly bar people from being a police officer when they have these kind of crimes. You'd be surprised. You'd be very shocked, actually. All right, so this story here, let's get into it. A California police officer who's a former Sacramento police officer whose name is Alexa Padobicki pleads no contest to falsifying police records. This woman, she falsified a probable cause for stopping a car. She's a liar. And this woman, she lied on someone to get probable cause back in July 11th of 2020. And she falsified, she lied about everything. So she did this to basically justify the stop, even though there was no way to justify the actual stop. And she will face very little punishment. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. She'll be sentenced on June the 5th of 2024. And she's facing a maximum penalty of 2 years in jail. And she is facing a maximum penalty of 2 years in jail if the plea deal is accepted. But the DA's office is objecting to the plea bargain, and they're asking for felony convictions, and that means a maximum of 3 years and 8 months in prison. So you see, this woman is trying to get out of her charges, but basically she's a liar. She lied. She pulled someone over and was gonna actually arrest someone, actually put someone in handcuffs and throw them in a cage based on false charges because she's a liar. And she's gonna face very little freaking time behind bars. 2 years or 3 years and 8 months, that's not enough time for potentially throwing someone behind bars, because when you pull someone over, oftentimes cops reach for their guns. So there's a lot this woman could have justified based on what she did. 2 years or 3 years and 8 months, and that's up to. She can only get maybe time served, probation. She won't get the full 2 or 3 years. We know that. So she'll face very little consequences, especially if it's a misdemeanor. She could have the record expunged, and guess what? She's back on duty. She's back on duty. In fact, you know what she's going to do? She's going to have the record expunged, and then she's going to go down to Florida, where Ron DeSantis is hiring bad cops. That's exactly what she's going to she's probably going to go and do. If I were her, that's exactly what I would do. Because America loves bad cops. How in the world is this woman only facing a maximum of 3 years and 8 months, of 3 years and 8 months, and that's if the judge rejects the plea deal, which the judge may not. In all likelihood, the judge might accept it. That's it. Wow. Wow. Let's get into this story, man. Bond set at $10,000 for Chicago police officer charged with having crack and powder in his police vehicle. This man, all right, get ready for this. Bond set at $10,000 for Chicago police officer who was caught having crack and powder on his possession. This man's name is Antrinius Andrews, and he was arrested early Friday morning because he has some crack. And he has been relieved of all police powers, and his next court date is set for July 12th. Man, oh man, Blue Lives Matter. Is this your man's? Is this your man's Blue Lives Matter? Listen, I love it. I love it. This man is a police officer, but he's a walking Chappelle Show meme. This man right here. Oh my God. Listen. How in the world are you a police officer and you get caught with something like this? Brother, what is you doing? This brother is down bad. Listen. Well, you know, Blue Lives Matter and people who support police officers and all these police unions, they're always saying, man, there's a rise in crime. There's a bunch of people who are addicts. And I gotta say, Blue Lives Matter, I mean, you're right. But man, I tell you, you don't know how right you are. Oh my God. Oh my God. That is precious. Antrinius Andrews, sir, you win the internet, sir. I am. Stories like this make me happy that we have police officers, because how else would we know who the criminals are? And it ain't because they catch them, because most police officers are like this guy. And they be lighting up, baby. All right. Yo, my man said, I'm in love with the cocoa. How you a walking rap song, man? No. That man said, I'm in love. No, man. No, man. Don't tell me the man, he's in love with the cocoa. All right, let's get into the next story, man. This one here is a doozy. No, we don't get this one. This one here. Let's get into this story here. Y'all ready? Let me get ready. Give me a second. Let me get ready. Oh, Lord. All right. Y'all saw the headline? Oh Lord. This one's gonna be a big one. So y'all get ready for this one. Let's get ready. Manhattan judge tosses hundreds of convictions tied to NYPD police officers accused of misconduct. So a bunch of police officers are criminals who have been convicted of felonies. And the DA's office, that would include Alvin Bragg, are going to throw out hundreds of convictions based on the criminal convictions of these police officers. And so we have Jason Arbini, 24 cases. He was sentenced to 5 years probation and 300 hours of community service for planting drugs on 2 people. Johnny Diaz, 129 cases, who was sentenced to 6 years in prison for helping to transplant illegal products and also accepting bribes and gifts from an undercover officer who pretended to be a dealer. Michael Arenella, 21 cases, who was sentenced to 160 hours of community service for taking money from an undercover officer and using the money to pay an informant. Michael Carsey, 26 cases, who was sentenced to 36 days of community service for lying under oath. Nicholas Minaz, 12 cases, who was sentenced to 15 and a half years in prison for stealing and selling guns from a police precinct. Richard Hall, 27 cases, who was sentenced to 5 years probation for releasing an 18-year-old woman from custody in exchange for special favors. William Eisman, 56 cases, who was sentenced to 5 years probation and 3 months in jail for giving false testimony and conducting illegal searches. Michael Fodder, 2 cases, who was sentenced to 3 months in jail for lying under oath in federal court. Oscar Sandino, 19 cases, who was sentenced to 2 years in prison and 1 year of supervised release for coerced essaying against 2 women in custody. Wow. Wow. So these officers got a slap on the wrist, right? Slapped on the wrist. And the thing is that all these convictions will now be overturned. Do you understand the lawsuits you are talking about here? You're talking about massive taxpayer liability, massive lawsuits. Listen, even if I'm guilty of the crime, I'm still suing. I'm having all my convictions overturned. If they even did a traffic ticket, it has to be overturned. If they even gave a speeding ticket, jaywalking citation, any tickets, any testimony cannot be trusted, especially the cops who have been convicted of giving false testimony in federal court or to a judge. They have to all be tossed out. And I just read off all the names. Wow. Blue Lives Matter. Are these your mens? You tell me that all cops are heroes, Blue Lives Matter? That's what you say. Listen, it's not about what I say at this point. It's about what Blue Lives Matter said. Y'all said they was heroes. I ain't said. Y'all said they was heroes. I'm judging them by a hero standard. By a hero standard, they don't look very heroic where I sit. You gotta admit. Let's keep it about. You know, I'm like Dage Loaf over here. Let's just be honest. Let's just be real. You know, yeah, seriously. You know? Let's get into this next story, man. This next story I want to cover for black empowerment purposes. A black mother was fatally shot by a racist neighbor who is a suspected white supremacist. This neighbor fatally shot this mother who has multiple children. This mother's name is Ajiki AJ Chantrell Owens. She passed away while being transported to the hospital. There was a long-standing feud, and the neighbor, who was a white woman, didn't like the black children playing outside. She didn't like it. And they're not wanting to mention the woman's name. The white woman's name. But I'm not going to allow the white media to do that. I'm not going to allow the white media to do that. I'm going to find that white woman's name. See. I'm trying to find. Her name's Susan. Susan what? Susan Lawrence. Okay, cool. All right, we got her name right here. Here is the white woman, the suspected white supremacist who allegedly used some racial slurs towards the children and also to the mother. This is the suspected white supremacist who committed this heinous crime. And the black people of America should definitely let these people know that their time is up for harming black people. This woman has been arrested. So it's actually an update. A lot of people don't know she's been placed under arrest. And she's been taken into custody. She's been charged with manslaughter with a firearm, culpable negligence, battery, and 2 counts of assault. This is murder. This is murder. This is the suspected white supremacist, and her name, once again, Susan Lawrence. The suspected white supremacist who fatally shot A.J. Owens is Susan Lawrence. She has been taken into custody, and right now she is facing several charges, including manslaughter with a firearm, culpable negligence, battery, and 2 counts of assault. The thing is that there are protesters outside of her home, and there are protesters going near the police and also the court system, because the thing is that this was flat out a murder. She unalived the mother who we all know was a victim of racism. This country has a habit of ignoring the pleas and the humanity and the preciousness of black women. What upset me about this story is that just like Ahmaud Arbery and just like with Jordan Neely, it wasn't because they saw the tapes. The only reason why Susan Lawrence is behind bars right now, the only reason why, is because we wouldn't let it go. They didn't want to arrest that woman. They wanted to let her go. They didn't want to arrest that woman. They want to let her go. I want you to understand that. They didn't want to arrest that woman. They want to let her go. The suspected white supremacist who fatally shot a black mother in Florida, Ajiki A.J. Owens, has been arrested. And once again, her name is Susan Lawrence. And she is behind bars and facing several charges, including manslaughter with a firearm, culpable negligence, battery, and 2 counts of assault. But that is nonsense because she committed a murder. She unalived a black mother who had multiple children. And those are all the charges she's going to face. I want you to understand something, right? That black mother, had she did the exact same thing, not only would she be charged, there will be a sped up court date just for her. This black mother is no longer with her children to care for her children. And the fact that that woman hasn't been charged with child endangerment or murder or any other charge that is applicable to what she did in her white supremacist rage is an outrage. It's outrageous. This woman, I want you to see the charges again, man. I want you to see liberal boogeyman, how you doing? Shy Gemini, Ohio 7 aliens. And go through Miss Jones, Coachy, B Limble, Pontiac. Everybody in the chat, Shannon Keefe. This woman here, man, she is facing very little charges. And look, she's facing manslaughter with a firearm, culpable negligence, battery, and 2 counts of assault. That's it. That's it. That's it. But a black man got 70 years. 70 years for spitting at a police officer. A black man got 70 years. 70 years. 70 years for spitting at a police officer. And this suspected white supremacist, once again, this is why we need an anti-black hate crime bill. This is why black people, I'm going to implore you, black folks. I implore you, black people. Listen to me, black man. Listen to me, black woman. If you don't listen to anything else I say to you, hear this. The time is now. This is not about your feelings. This ain't about Republicans bad, Democrats bad. It's about survival. These people, they know what they're doing. They understand fully what they're doing. The time is now to get serious about getting some tangibles, about getting reparations, about getting an anti-black hate crime bill, about protecting yourself, arming yourself. There should have been a brother, instead of Miss Owens having to go and handle that situation herself. There should have been a brother around. And yeah, that does fall on brothers like freaking me too. I'm not going to absolve myself of that. But we need tangibles to make stuff like that happen. When things like that happen, we need to be able to call people and have brothers come down and handle that. We need tangibles so that when people do things like this, they're not just facing state charges, they're facing federal charges. And with federal charges, when you are a civilian, oh, you're going to serve that time. And the best part about federal time for what we're talking about, an anti-black hate crime bill, is that you get a lot of time for stuff like that. Hate crime charge, yeah, you get a lot of time for things like that. This person should be behind bars for the rest of their life. Children are without their mother right now, forever. Miss Owens had her son next to her when she was shot. So that child witnessed this. That child was there to witness that. And yet Democrats are playing games. They're playing games. They're playing games as if we have time to waste. Imagine for a second that bullet had went a little bit to the left or to the right. That could have hit the child. She knew that child was there. She didn't like the children. Who do you think she was aiming for? Think about it. Think about it. It wasn't the mother she had a problem with, per se. It wasn't the mother that she was arguing with. She was fussing over every single day. It was the children. If you know children are nearby, why do you even grab a gun? Unless you didn't care about children, unless they were your target. And if they got hit and the mother got freaking hit, hey, that's just gravy. See, when you look at it like that, you really put yourself in the mindset of a white supremacist. You really put yourself in the mindset of one. It really puts you there. Think about it. What kind of a person, if you even live near children, you would look out for them, right? You would if you saw people speeding in your neighborhood and you know that kids live in your neighborhood, right? What you would usually do is you would shout out, hey, slow down, slow down. You would look out for kids in your neighborhood. This woman had a gun and fired it willy-nilly at someone, knowing there were children around. And the only other thing that we know about this woman, that she didn't like the children. She didn't like them playing on the outside. Well, what's one way to make sure they don't play on the outside? You get a gun. And it's not like she wasn't willing to take someone out. She did. It's not like she wasn't willing to disregard, the safety of the children and the mother. She unalived the mother. Think about people in their mindsets. See, black folks oftentimes we'll just look at a situation and we'll say, okay, she did this and that, and that's it. No, black folks, it goes deeper. Black folks, it goes deeper. It goes deeper. put yourself in the mindset of this woman when she was there that day. If you have children who live in your neighborhood, you understand that. That don't leave your mind. How does a child leave your mind? That you've been complaining about multiple times. That don't leave your mind. You're fully aware. That's on your mind. In fact, the whole scenario in which led up to this was about the children. So you knew they were out there. Why do you think she pulled the trigger? Do you think she was hoping the mother and the kids didn't get hit? Because in her mind, that would take care of two problems at once, right? This is the face of America. This woman has only faced criminal charges because we were outraged. Like Ahmaud Arbery, like George Floyd, like Dante Wright. A lot of people have forgotten about that young brother. Elijah McClain. Botham Jean and Amber Geiger, she's out. She's free right now. The cop who unalived Tamir Rice, he just hopping around from place to place trying to become a police officer again. And this woman has only been charged because of TikTok, YouTube, and everyone watching right now. It was you. It wasn't law enforcement. It wasn't the courts. It wasn't politicians. It certainly wasn't Joe Biden. It wasn't the church. It wasn't any massive social group that's funded, some massive NGO. It was grassroots anger. You saw something that you didn't agree with and you said no. It wasn't because Blue Lives Matter and the police union said, no, we don't want to see a person get away with harming a mother with multiple children. Because we are, we're on the right wing of the spectrum, right? You know how the cops are, and we're so pro-life. All the Republicans, right? They're supposed to be so pro-life. Well, this mother had multiple children. This older woman here had no children living with her. Weren't you so pro-life there, Ron DeSantis, Florida? Where's all the pro-life people? Are you only pro-life when it comes to white children? Because this woman fired a gun when the mother was directly next to a kid and she unalived the mother where she could have hit the kid. So I don't want to hear anybody talking about how pro-life they are. I don't want to hear that. If you are supporting this suspected white supremacist or you support her actions, there needs to be a stiffer penalty for anti-black racism, especially anti-black violence. My heart goes out to the family of A.J. Owens. I'm sorry that your country failed you. I'm sorry that once again, it wasn't because they saw the tapes, it's because we saw the tapes, because we wouldn't take it. You said no. You're the hero. You watching, you who isn't watching, you at home, you who is protesting, you who is raising the roof raising Cain about this. You are the hero, not the cops. The cops are just forced to do what you demanded them to do. You're the hero. You're the hero. You watching. Thank you for being a hero. It's just become a time before the internet, things like this could just happen and people wouldn't say anything. And even now, things like this happen and people get away with it. But at least now there's instant outrage. There's people getting charged. People getting arrested. Once upon a time, that even that wouldn't happen. But now we're to the next stage. Yeah, Amber Geiger. Yeah, I think she's out. I think Amber Geiger's out, man. Last I checked, I think she's out. But I'm not sure. I can look it up real quick. But no, the thing about it is that this day and age, when with the new black movements and the new black youth energy, we are fighting back. You know, the dominant white society, they're trying their best to go backwards, and it's not gonna work. You can unalive someone like me. You can take me out. It wouldn't help you, because you know what's gonna happen? There'll just be another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. Oh, Amber Geiger still in jail? Oh, okay. My bad. I thought Amber Geiger was actually out. My bad. I thought she was. I hadn't checked into that story yet. I haven't did like an update on that story yet, because I didn't want to really touch Amber Geiger until I could get a picture of her on the outside, and then I touch it. But with her gonna be released soon, I'm gonna do probably an update on that pretty soon. But you know, once again, this story breaks my heart on several levels, man. Because the thing about it is that this young lady, not only is she gone, but her children don't have their mother. And I think that's the part that people are missing. You know, all the people who are making excuses for this suspected white supremacist. Children are without their mother. Wow. That is upsetting, to say the least. Like, the part that gets me is the fact that they weren't even going to charge. They weren't even going to like charge her. That's the part that actually gets me. They weren't going to charge her. They were going to let her go free. They're going to let her get away with it. And had it not been for the outrage and the anger of the grassroots and the people, that woman would have never been even arrested. Give me a second, man. I need something real quick. Yeah, I just need something real quick to kind of calm my nerves from that, man. That we pretend that we are making progress out there. We will. It's just going to be a long fight. It's not going to be a sprint. It's going to be a marathon, man. But we need reparations. We need tangibles to fight this kind of stuff, man. We need tangibles. We're going to come back to this story, but let's get into another story here. So this story here is a very disturbing story. It's going to upset you if you brace yourselves. Trigger warning. Disgusting. Deputy told his friend, a teacher accused of essaying a minor student, to flee ahead of his arrest warrant being issued. So this guy, former sheriff's deputy Arturo Dominguez, told his lifelong friend Omar Ayala to run because Omar Ayala is a predator who essayed a student, and Omar Ayala is a high school teacher. So his friend, who's a sheriff's deputy, told him to run. He gave him an inside tip. He tipped off his friend and allowed a predator to run free. Wow. So Arturo Dominguez is in a jail cell. The update, I'm actually doing an update to the story. I've already reported on this, but we find out even worse details. The worst detail is that not only did Omar Ayala get a warning, we understand that Arturo Dominguez saw the evidence against Omar Ayala. He knew Omar Ayala did it. And yet he still helped his friend escape. He's a police officer. Well, not police. He's a freaking sheriff's deputy. He had access to the evidence. He knew his friend had did it. And yet he still allowed his friend to flee. Do you understand that Omar Ayala, I'm not even going to get into the implications of this, but the thing is, how many other people has this man helped escape? How many of his, friends has he helped escape? Maybe a friend essayed a woman. Maybe that woman got too drunk. Maybe a friend slipped something into her drink. I mean, if you'll help your friend get away with going after a high school student, why would you do it for a grown woman? How many women and children have suffered with no justice because of that sheriff's deputy? How many? I want you to think to yourself, if this man will help his friend get away with preying on a high school student, he had access to the actual investigation, so he understood all the evidence against his friend. Why would he help his friend escape if he thought his friend were actually innocent? If he thought the charges were nonsense, why would he help his friend escape? It's because he knew the actual charges, and he knew the allegations were true. So now the question becomes is if you don't think a high school child deserves justice, how many other people have you helped who have committed the exact same type of crimes? Or worse, what if someone came up missing? Didn't come home on one evening after one of your friends assaulted them. Maybe the person fought back too much. Think about how many women have gone missing, and we don't know where they are. And the sheriff's deputies there and law enforcement are supposed to investigate those kind of crimes. But if they are involved in helping to cover it up, well, then that would explain why you can never actually find them. Wow. So the question becomes, this is a guy who got caught, but let's say some random crime is committed, some horrible crime, crime that Omar Ayala certainly looks like he committed. Say that crime is committed and you don't know that person has a connection with a sheriff's deputy. That's the real question, isn't it? How many of those cases do we have? That's the real question, right? How many of those cases do we have that you don't know the person who you're trying to find that you can't find was actually tipped off by law enforcement beforehand, and that's why you can't find the person, because every time you get too close to them, a person within law enforcement gives them a warning. How many times has this former deputy, Arturo Dominguez, how many times has he done this if he doesn't think that a high school girl deserves justice? How many times? Doesn't that just disturb you to even think about it? How many times, Arturo Dominguez, how many times has a victim come forward to the police station, or to the sheriff's station, saying, hey, I've been assaulted. I'm a victim of a horrible crime. I need a kit done. I need you to help me. But then Arturo Dominguez sees, oh, it's one of my friends. Sorry, ma'am. We can't find the person. The kit that we provided, it got destroyed. Sorry. The evidence got lost. We can't find the person. Oh, I think the person, the last time we checked, they're out of the country. Can't find them. Sorry. How many times has this man done that to victims? people out there have the nerve and the audacity and the gall to sit there and support law enforcement. How dare you? Have you no self-respect? Have you no decency? When you hear stories like this, you don't go to make excuses. You just say, okay, I'm disgusted. I won't make excuses for law enforcement. This time they're going to take their licks. I'm not going to defend them whatsoever. That's what a reasonable, decent human being who isn't trash would say. But I understand when it comes to Blue Lives Matter, you're not dealing with decent human beings. You're just not. People who support police officers, you're not dealing with those kind of people. You can't reason with them. I would suggest you don't even talk to them, even if they're family. Because I guarantee you, when you present a story like this to them, they're gonna say, well, that's bad apples. And as soon as they say that, you should say, wow, you must want to commit the same kind of crimes that Omar Ayala committed. Because there's only one kind of response, right? Only one kind of response you should give to these kinds of crimes, and that's horrible, and then you move on. You don't make excuses. But when it comes to people who support police officers, there is no level of depravity, no level of crime that a cop could commit to make them even consider reform, even consider maybe there's a different way of policing. They won't even consider the unthought. They would rather every high school girl be preyed upon. So long as someone with a badge is involved, they're fine with it. They're totally okay with it. They have no problem with it. And that's why people who support police officers shouldn't be trusted at all. In fact, if they say that they actually support police officers, I don't trust them around my children. Because as you can see, with stories like this, why should I? If you're going to look at a story like this, say, bad apple, I don't trust you around my kid. I think you might be a predator, period. And my mind won't change that. And I've had that position for years now. And I'll tell anyone who says otherwise to their face, if you support police officers after hearing a story like this, if you can't at least for one day put off your support, your worship of the badge, you are a predator. Your hard drive should be checked. My God. I've seen people just out of anger say they hate something, right? Out of anger, and they didn't even mean it. So it takes a special level of indoctrination to not even fake hating something. That is a religion at that point. You're in a cult at that point. And the one thing about cults is that you don't trust them around children. Period. You just don't. Just keep it a buck with you. You know, like Dej Loaf said, let's just be honest. Yeah. Let's just be real. Yeah. Seriously. Let's get into this story here, man. A former sheriff's deputy, man, an investigator, has been arrested for aggravated stalking under the Family Violence Act. Chattooga County Sheriff Mark Schreiger stated that the charges were in relation to a domestic situation. Dexter Blackman, man, he's been arrested for aggravated stalking under the Family Violence Act. This guy apparently was stalking someone that he was in a romantic relationship with. Man, oh man, Blue Lives Matter. Is this your man's? You said that all cops are heroes, man. This guy was not working law enforcement during the time of his arrest, but he is a law enforcement officer and investigator, man. High-ranking officer. You know, I'm beginning to wonder if this is not so much an isolated thing with police officers and more so a requirement to be a cop. It is a requirement to be a wife beater and a stalker. to be a cop. Because if that's not the case, why is it that I, as one man, can do so many news stories about cops who are just like Dexter Blackman here? Man, oh man, Blue Lives Matter. Y'all have got to do better. Set a better example for the children, Blue Lives Matter. You're embarrassing. You're embarrassing. Here we go, guys. Here we go, guys. Oh, man. We got a bad story here. Sheriff's deputy is the latest officer to face arrest for criminal activity. So, the latest officer. It's been multiple officers from this one particular department. Richmond County Sheriff's Deputy Demondre Mahoney. He's been arrested, man. He's been arrested for bringing contraband into a correctional facility. Man, oh man, Blue Lives Matter. We are always wondering, how does these illegal substances keep getting into these correctional facilities? And I got an answer to that question. It's the pigs. The pigs. Oink, oink. Whatever you want your fix, just say oink, oink, and man, the pigs show up with their hands out for your money. They are cooking in the kitchen, baby, making mixtapes. Blue Lives Matter. Is this your man's? You said that all cops are heroes, man. I don't know if cops out here who's out here cooking up stuff in the kitchen. I don't know if they are what you would define as heroes. I just don't know, baby. I just don't know. And brother, get a haircut, brother. I know there are barbers in the lockup. Don't you tell me there ain't no barbers in the lockup, brother. You got to do better. Listen, use some of that money that you was out here slanging with, right? And get your tape line done up, brother. Okay? All right, brother. Advice from me to you. All right? I love stories like this. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Okay. A Massachusetts sheriff's deputy caught in a very inappropriate act near kids at Enfield ice cream shop. Oh man. So this guy is the ice cream man. Oh no. You remember that Master P song? Master P, he said, I'm the ice cream man. Oh no. He got him some sugar, baby. Let's get into this story. Todd LaFawn, who is a Massachusetts County Sheriff's Office deputy, he has been charged with second degree of breach of peace for the incident. And apparently, he decided to get it on, have some special activities, have some indecent moments around children at an ice cream shop. Man, Blue Lives Matter. You gotta explain this one. Is this your man's Blue Lives Matter? Oh, Lord. Oh, no. You can't do that. You just can't do that. Listen, if you want to get your goodies on, all right, you get a room, son. You can't be out here wearing a badge, being a law enforcement officer, and calling yourself the ice cream man. Oh, no. Oh, God. He said, listen, baby, I'm the ice cream man. That man said, I got donut and bacon flavored ice cream for you, baby. Oh, no. Oh, no. Man, police officers are finding new and interesting ways of getting themselves fired, man. I love it. Stories like this, it just warms my heart. Stories like this warms my, stories like this, it makes me proud to be an American when I see stories like this. This man, he said, listen, baby. I'm going to show you some sugar now. Oh, man, that man said, I can't wait. That man was like that freaking Outkast song. I can't wait. Listen, this put a whole new definition of public display of affection. Oh, no. Oh, no. My man said, listen. I'm gonna show everybody what human anatomy looks like. I'm gonna show y'all what I learned in human biology class. My man said, "Listen, I'm gonna start an OnlyFans. Doom, 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 doom." Lord have mercy, man. He said, "Girl, listen here. I'm gonna give you sugar, spice, and everything nice. You feel me? All right, let me stop, man. Let me see." That man said, "I'm gonna give you sugar, spice, and everything nice." All right. So this story comes from Missouri. We have a former Jefferson County Sheriff's deputy who has been charged with felony DWI, involuntary manslaughter. This guy's name is Colby McCreary. This guy's name is former Deputy Colby McCreary. He's been charged with involuntary manslaughter and felony DUI following a crash that resulted in the passing of his wife. He was driving while intoxicated. This sheriff's deputy, this law enforcement officer, man oh man, Blue Lives Matter, is this your man's? I gotta ask you, Blue Lives Matter, is this your man's? You said that all cops are heroes. Well, cops who drink and drive and then cause their own wife to no longer be here with us, Savannah McCreary. She paid the cost because Blue Lives Matter, they have no problem with law enforcement officers who not only hit their wives, but drink and drive and find ways to hurt their wives without hitting them. When it comes to being irresponsible, when it comes to being criminals, there is nobody on planet Earth, or especially no one in the U.S. who is better at being a criminal and committing crimes than pigs, than people who wear badges, because a woman is no longer with us because of this man's actions. And then they want to have the nerve and the audacity to want to charge other people with DWI. And yet I guarantee you, it's in his first time drinking and driving. This is the time that he got caught because someone got hurt. Cops should not be trusted around women because they will find some kind of way to hurt them, as you can see. As you can see. Let's get into this story. So we got a predator police officer. I want to find this guy's picture. I don't want him to be able to hide his face. Where is? Let me make sure I get his picture. I want to see his face. Yeah, you. Hi, you. Hi, you. Yeah. This wonderful individual. I want you to see his face. Todd Baracco. I want you to see him. Because this guy is a police officer. Now, he's a former police officer and also a former teacher who has been sentenced. So let's get into the story here. This story comes from Michigan. A former police officer and a former teacher named Todd Baracco has been sentenced to probation after he's been arrested. Now, you might be wondering, what was he arrested for? This guy was trying to meet up with someone he thought was 15 years old, but it turns out it was the authorities. And this guy had a gun on him at the time. And he's only going to face probation. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Probation. Probation. I want you to see this guy's face. Todd Baracco. A former teacher and former police officer. And this guy was trying to meet up with somebody who was just 15 years old. And he's been sentenced to probation. That's it. People who trust police officers or who support police officers, you don't trust them around your children, and you for doggone sure don't trust anybody with a badge around your child. They will face no punishment if they actually violate your children, as you can see clearly. Look at that man. Probation. 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 That's it. That's it. Congratulations. Congratulations, America. Probation. This man got probation. Probation. Wow. Wow. Anyways, guys, this is going to be it for the show tonight, guys. I've covered more than enough stories tonight. I have to mentally recharge. Stories like this, it really gets to me because I'm a victim of these kind of crimes. The sheriff who did it, well, the sheriff, he didn't do it, but he covered it up. I want you to understand the reason why I do what I do. I want you to get it. See, I understand I share this story a lot, but a lot of people hadn't seen some of the court documents involved. A lot of people hadn't seen the court doc. Actually, I want to cover this case now that I've seen. So this case right here is interesting. Let's discuss this. I want to discuss this case because this guy here, Daniel Balding, is a fascinating case right here. I want to... So, this story comes from Texas. You have a former police officer named Daniel Balding who has been convicted of solicitation and also attempting to commit a felony. He tried to meet up with someone that he thought was 15 years old for, use your imagination. And this guy faces only a maximum of 3 years behind bars. And he'll be sentenced at a later date. This guy sent a picture of himself in his patrol unit, his assigned patrol unit, to who he thought was a 15-year-old that he was going to meet up to assault them, to be a predator. He was going to prey on a 15-year-old and sent pictures of himself as a police officer. And he sent that to who he thought was a 15-year-old that he was going to meet up. This man, let me try to redo that because I have to clip that for a separate video. I have to control my temper. I'm a victim of people like this. This story comes from Texas. You have a former police officer whose name is Daniel Balding, who tried to meet up with someone who thought that he was... I'm going to try to do it one more time. I'm having a tough time, man. I can't believe this. He sent a picture of himself as a police officer to someone that he thought was 15 years old. This story comes from Texas. We have a former police officer whose name is Daniel Balding, who tried to meet up with someone that he believed was 15 years old, but was actually the authorities. And this man sent messages and requested inappropriate pictures and videos. And he also sent pictures of himself in his law enforcement uniform and also sitting in his assigned patrol unit. So he sent pictures to someone that he thought was 15 years old that he was going to prey upon. And he sent proof that he's a police officer. Blue Lives Matter, is this your man's? You say that all cops are heroes. Well, people who do disgusting stuff like this, they are not heroes, Blue Lives Matter. Go through your ranks. Go to every police officer, every sheriff's department, every law enforcement agency, and find every predator who is just like Daniel Balding. I am sick of covering stories like this and have people out there criticize me, talk crap to me, when you don't lift a finger to do anything about these pigs who prey on children. I don't want to hear your critiques. I don't want to hear you say, well, you can do your content like this or that. Shut up. Because while this man was trying to prey on a 15-year-old, you're giving me the breeze. You don't go to the predators like him and give them the breeze. No, you give me the breeze. No. Blue Lives Matter. Fix your ranks. You got monsters and predators running among you. This man sent pictures of himself in his police uniform, in his assigned patrol car to who he thought was a 15-year-old. And you got people out there who don't understand the importance of channels like mine. Are you out of your entire mind? Do you not get the reason why people like me who do what I do you realize the role that I feel? You would have never heard about this story. And yet people out there have the nerve and the audacity to come at me and lecture me about the content. Excuse me, do you not think that if this stuff is happening more than once, if it's happening all the time, that there should be a dedicated channel that covers just this news? No? Why would you not want this news out there? Unless you're a predator yourself. This man sat here in his police uniform in a squad car and sent pictures to who he thought was a 15-year-old. And then he requested videos and pictures. I want you to understand the implications of this. If he's this brazen and this bold to do this, if he was that, he understands that when you send a picture or a text, that can be traced. If he was that brazen and that bold, how many others do you think he's already gotten to? How many others has he already? See, people, when I cover stories like this, people don't realize that I've covered so many stories like this. I've covered thousands of cases like this, and people don't realize that the reason why I ask those questions is because usually when I investigate, when I look deeper into these cases, because I'm gonna save this freaking news story, and I'm gonna call it department, and I'm gonna look into all their files. I'm gonna do FOIA requests. I want to find out everything about this officer. I want to see who he has interacted with. I know I can't trace all of it, but if there's a record or a file, I want to see. Because there could be other victims. In fact, I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. I'm sure. If you're a parent, this is horrifying. I'm horrified. I'm a parent. I'm horrified. You got cops out here sending pictures of themselves in uniform to commit heinous law and order SVU types of crimes. Am I the one crazy here? Am I the one taking crazy pills here? Am I the one taking crazy pills here? This man, my God, my God. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for me tonight. That's all I can take. Shy Gemini, Be Limble, Sean, Waylon Loads, King Doobie, Mackay, Flying Squid Monster, Walt, Ohio, Just In, everybody who shared, man, everybody who liked. Much love, man. I gotta roll, man. I'm gonna post the content, but I need a break. I need to go look into this case. I'm mad. I'm hot. Love you all. Be safe. Shy Gemini, once again, thank you for showing me love. Sean, be limble. Be safe. Horns up. Peace out. Good night and good luck.